In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boy BlockchainCrusader, and mind your biz tonight for another episode of What If Wednesday. How's it going, dude?
It's going great, man. I'm so glad you guys invited me back on. I love What If Wednesday. And yeah, big shout out to the entire Danger Close Alpha fam and to the Debate Crypto fam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I'm excited today, bro. I mean, we have the whole Bored Ape Yacht Club conspiracy coming out about, what if it's actually a Nazi club? And at first, we've seen this before. We talked about it off stage before the show, and it seemed like it was a little one-off thing a long time ago, no big deal. But after this compilation of that video that went viral, pretty much going viral on YouTube the past 2 days, um, it's kind of undeniable now that it needs some looking into, and people need to be aware of what is happening here. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, that's like you said, we've seen NFT projects come, we've seen NFT projects go, but we did not see this coming.
Dude,
Dad jokes for days, fam.
yeah, man. I mean, if anything here, right, it's just a massive troll, right? We're gonna be diving into the details of this stuff in a little bit for everybody watching, but the amount of coincidences that are happening with this art and the founders and the way everything has been set up, right? No allegations are being made that they themselves are any type of Nazis or anything, but nonetheless, the symbolism is there, and there could be the biggest trolls in history to troll all of the world to make this Bored Ape Yacht Club the main hub of NFTs, and yet at the same time has all these massive ties to neo-Nazi symbolism, and no one was even aware of it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. I'm right there with you. Right there with you, Crusader. It's a bit of an issue when you got a project that is like that is one of the biggest blue chip NFT projects where they've got one of the highest TVL numbers in the NFT ecosystem. When you have people who are willing to come in from the celebrity space, willing to come in from the other non-traditional influencer space or traditional influencer space, lifestyle brands, etc., all this crossover appeal, all this curb appeal, and then we come to find out that whether it's intentional or not, there's some of this symbolism is hidden there, and kind of they're laughing at us. It adds insult to injury, man. It's a little bit it was a bit too much. I think we discussed before rolling that for me, I ignored it for a while. I saw signs of like people talking about it on Twitter, and maybe as early as January. I think I saw some people also doing some video exposés on YouTube several months ago, but then they didn't get quite the same attention because they were from people who were like kind of general crypto haters, no coiners, and NFT sort of haters. So it's like, I'll dismiss that. They're just trying to like sling mud. But to hear it come from the rank and file of the crypto faithful and people who are in the scene and people who are trying to build in the NFT space, trying to help the culture, trying to lift up, for them to start blowing the whistle, like it took for me a lot actually to have somebody say like, hey, no, me, an insider, I think you should look more closely at this. And when I did, bro, I couldn't unsee it. I'm telling you, Miguel, I couldn't unsee the just some of the misanthropy and just the really poor taste of all of these different symbols. So yeah, that for me was the tipping point, and I am firmly in the camp now that I am not down with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I'm not down with the Mutant Apes. I'm not down with Yuga Labs. I won't be supportive of their stuff. And I've got nothing against people who have heavy bags of ape coin or other Yuga Labs materials, but like, it just ain't for me anymore. I'm not, they lost me.
Yeah, 100%, dude. So, like, for the people that are not aware, there was a video created by somebody, I believe named Philion or something like that, on YouTube that compiled all the data that was put together by somebody named Ryder Rip, which has been apparently this longtime troll from 4chan originally for the past 12 years. So he's been around internet culture for quite a bit of time. He's built up a reputation, and a lot, for the good and the bad. Some people might not really like him, and him being the messenger, a lot of people are dismissing it. But I think that regardless of whether it's him and his reputation, we just need to look at the facts that he's pointing at and come to the conclusion for ourselves of what is actually being presented here, regardless of who writer Rip is. And I think that was what this video that has gone viral has done very well. You know, it's somebody that's not him putting this video together, talking about him and talking about all the research that guy has done. And dude, that if you haven't seen the video, you need to watch it. It's an hour long, and you know you can go watch it. But we're going to be talking about a lot of details here. I'm going to be pulling up the website from writer Rip that is actually called Gordon Goner. It's actually the name of one of the founders of Bored Ape Yacht Club. And man, the guy's a genius nonetheless. I mean, writer Rip, he using the name of one of the founders so that for SEO purposes can rank right above on Google if anybody types one of the founders' names. So that's a pretty genius move. So here we are, guys. This is the website right here, and then this where things start to get crazy. So everybody strap in.
Yeah, right. So Miguel, I look at this and going to the website, it's there's some stuff that some stuff you would think like, they're grasping a little bit, but then other stuff they give really good examples here of maybe why they're not. I'm going to call out one of the NFTs in the Bored Ape Yacht Club series that kind of stands out, and that is that's mint number 1488. There is a little bit of, it's not like numerological symbolism. It has nothing to do with numerology, but it does have to do with the specific sort of like alphanumerical hints that 1488 would give, and then the fact that particular mint shows an ape in a prison uniform. Like there's a little bit, and it's gone over in the video, and I think it's here on this page as well, a little bit farther down. But it's one of those things where like, that's a little bit too close to home, as well as some of the other symbols as well. I love that you scroll down right here to the Waffen Totenkopf. Like this is not unique, right, to the German army. There are numerous military groups throughout the world and throughout history that have used a skull and even a skull and crossbones because like they mean business, right? It's like, no, we're the bad around, right? Plenty of SF units are, would be perfectly interested and perfectly fine with using that kind of symbolism. But the fact that these guys took like that specific layout and then they applied the ape skull to it, where like that's not a feature of the Bored Ape Yacht Club series, and not even the Mutant Ape Yacht Club series. You don't have bear skulls like that. That's not something that's in their ecosystem. So for them to go out of their way to make it a skull like that and oriented in the similar fashion to how the Waffen Totenkopf is, like right there, the death's head from the old SS badges, like. It's just too close, man. I don't know who they thought was going to be laughing at that.
The teeth, right? So there's a little hidden symbol here. The teeth, there's 18 teeth, which represent something. The 18 teeth are not, 18 is represented, which is talked about right there in the website, is often when you translate letters into numbers and numbers into letters, number 1 is represented as A. 8 is represented as H, which are the initials for Adolf Hitler, right? So there is a purpose of why this death head has 18 teeth and why the alt-right neo-Nazis continue to use this symbol. And they don't just use that symbol, they use the number 18 as well repeatedly over and over. So the fact that the skull from Bored Ape in of itself has the 18 teeth as well is something that they've literally plucked out from here. The fact that the circle itself is not a clear circle, it's a rough circle, is also something that they purposely picked. Because why didn't they just make it a perfectly sized circle? They literally threw in the detail, the rough circle, which goes along with this as well.
Yeah, that may be an issue there as well. Like I'm seeing some comments come through, and I was a bit dismissive of it also initially. Like people saying like, I think it's a stretch, and I think it's it's probably not that serious. Like I get that, I really serious. Do. Yeah, right, Miguel. I felt that same way too, right? I think the both of us we we agreed like that for months. We kind of ignored it because it's like, oh, whatever, apes. Because, aping into an NFT or aping into a new token sale or a drop or whatever makes sense, right? Ha ha. We're all talking about apes, right? Apes together strong. Dude, on Crypto Twitter, we were talking that way for over a year, since DeFi Summer 1, right? 2020. Well before the Bored Ape Yacht Club came around, we were using that kind of language. So like, I get how some people would think like, yeah, whatever. It's not, it's not harmful. It's not targeted. They're not trying to like make anybody feel like they're being persecuted or anything. And I think it's still maybe the case that the people of Yuga Labs, the founders of Yuga Labs, that they weren't necessarily targeting anybody, but just being knuckleheads, just being really dumb, trying to create inside jokes that they thought were funny. And maybe we can go into this a little bit later on, but like, they just like, I think they were just like, they're kind of 4chan edgelords, right? Like god tier virgin goon humor, right? That's like, okay, dude, get out, see, like touch grass, see some sunlight, maybe try to go on a date once this decade, like learn how women are, like learn how society is. And maybe you won't make these kinds of really, really dumb jokes.
Yeah, so like I'm seeing some comments, right? Someone said, I don't understand if it's Nazism, but what would be their point? The point is to get people to follow along with these symbols. And, they've created, the Bored Ape Yacht Club is kind of a cult, right? There's secret information that only the founders have. And the only way to get to that information is to be part of it and continue to grow and grow inside that community, right? And the point is not to them themselves trying to maybe propagate some type of Nazi agenda, but it's to get people to follow along with an art or with an ideology that is Nazi-like without people even knowing that they're doing it, right? That's the troll. That's where the gotcha is. It's like, we literally fed you all of this. You had no idea because you didn't look into it. You weren't paying attention. And that's how quickly and easy it is to trick somebody into something that they shouldn't be supporting or be part of.
Right. Yeah, Miguel, I think that's exactly right. I love what Griff just said in the comments about how it's a troll from 4chan. I think that's pretty much it. Like, that pretty much explains it. It's a big, giant troll, and they're trying to get as many people to participate as possible. And then, like, the beauty of crypto is, like, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have ideology. You can even have a giant troll. You can make a big old joke, and you can get friggin' paid. These guys are multimillionaires, like billionaires now. So, yeah, they're doing all right. And, crypto kind of, it amplifies whatever you already bring, if you're intelligent enough to fool people, right? Whether it is an exchange or a new coin or a token or promising people yield, right? A la Luna and UST, like, or Anchor Protocol. Like, there's so many ways that you a community holding the bag, but this one is like, yeah, it's both, right? Like, they leave the community holding the bag with these like 80 ETH, like, at this point, like almost $100,000 NFTs that are also like this secret hidden troll from 4chan. It's just like, on the one hand, brilliant. On the other hand, so toxic, right? Like, come on, man.
Dude,
like, can we grow up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to slowly go through here. So, like, this whole Yuga Labs comes from the Kali Yuga, right? It's an element also using alt-right traditional ideology. And they, Rene Gunan, they literally embed the philosopher's name into their whole system. They talk about him. All these things are happening, and they're being done by the founders themselves, right? One of the founders called Gargamel, which is also the name of the character from the Smurfs, the old guy that's trying to eat the Smurfs or whatever it is. All right, it's very anti-Semitic depiction.
Yeah, no, totally, right. Where apparently, like, in when he's trying to eat the Smurfs, he's not just trying to eat the Smurfs. In some versions of the sort of like Smurf lore, he's trying to turn these little Smurfs into diamonds or into gems, which is kind of that's a particularly anti-Semitic thing, right? Where it's like, Jews don't value people; they value money. Right. Yes. And Gargamel is the ultimate embodiment of that anti-Semitic stereotype of, I value life so little that I'm going to turn these little beings into a gemstone instead, because, their life is meaningless. I just want money.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's especially bad.
So, like, I feel like,
but it bears mentioning though, the character, this character, right, or the pseudonym for the founder of the Yuga Labs that took that nickname of Gargamel, he actually is ethnically Jewish. So
Yes.
I think it is one of those like self-referential things, right? Where he's not taking himself too seriously. And, I get that. Like, I grew up with good friends that were Jewish. I still have good friends who work in the security industry in Israel. And like some of my funniest friends are like not self-loathing. They're just like good sense of humor Jewish people who are like, whatever, man, like you can't hurt me. I've already heard every Jewish joke because I've already made every Jewish joke. And they've got like this wicked biting sense of humor. Like, it's not uncommon to have a Jewish friend who's that way. And I get it how this founder is like, oh yeah, whatever, call me Gargamel. Like, you can't hurt my feelings. Like, just call me Gargamel, whatever. So like, I get that too. But nobody else was let in on the joke,
Yes, it's all about the insider information. The next big one is Emperor Tomato Ketchup. You think, what a harmless name. That's such a random name. But there's a lot more to it, right? Emperor Tomato Ketchup was also the name of a very not friendly movie of kids. And it is banned. And what a coincidence that his name is the same name as that film. If you're catching my drift. And the possibility denial is the fact that it comes from an album, right? You were talking about that album earlier. You sent it to me on Twitter that, it comes from there, but that also comes back from the movie itself. So can you expand on that a little bit?
It does. I mean, here's the thing. Like, so avant-garde art is this sort of, it's this whole, it's not a genre. That's the thing. Avant-garde is not a genre of art. Avant-garde is literally just like the bleeding edge. It just means like being edgy in art. And so it's been really common for a lot of decades and even the better part of a century or more. I mean, past that point into history, if you were too edgy with your art, like, bro, like, you got either put in jail or the church had you excommunicated, or you were like literally strung up, right, publicly, or like executed. So the artists never had the option of being really edgy with their art prior to a certain point in history. But yeah, after a certain point, there are still like decency laws. And like you're saying, we don't want CP circulating around the internet now. And this film, it was kind of like made, it was made taboo, right? And like you said, it's been banned in the US and in a lot of other Western countries. So when the group that I forwarded to you, it's a French lounge, and sort of French, it's not new wave, but it's French lounge music. Their name is Stereo Lab. A lot of people have heard of them. They have an album with this title, and they've got a track in that album called Emperor Tomato Ketchup. I think they did it because they were like, yeah, we're being edgy. We're just going to call it the name of this movie that's banned because, like, actually our music is not that edgy. Like, but I mean, it's a taboo, so we're going to go, poke the bear a little bit. Like, really? You're going to ban this? So we're going to name our album that. Like, that's pretty common in avant-garde art, is to name something like I'm forgetting the exact name of the experimental filmmaker. They made a French filmmaker from the French New Wave of films back in the day. It wasn't Francois Truffaut or whatever. It was some other experimental filmmaker of the time of the French New Wave that made a short film called "This Is Not a Film." Like, that's the name in French. Like, translated, it's, this is not a film, and it's like, okay, well, got it. So you're trying to make a statement with your art. And I get it when somebody's trying to make a statement saying like, look, we're going to push the boundaries. If you call it a taboo, I'm going to say, nope, I'm going to go pop that bubble. Keep on blowing those little like taboo bubbles. I'm going to go over and pop each one because I want to be able to express myself freely. That's one thing. But when you start stacking those on top of each other, when everything you do is always you're always trying to poke like at those little taboos, like, we're going to pop these bubbles. Like, again, like you're saying, it's an insider thing and nobody else gets it, right? And no longer is a statement. You're not trying to reclaim the taboo. You're not trying to reclaim language. At this point, you're just being an a-hole.
Yeah, dude. And I think the reason why it points that they're such big trolls and that they're smart about this is because they themselves, right? The Jewish guy picked the Gargamel name, and it's like you can't say that I'm a racist because I'm making fun of myself, but nobody knows that the joke is there, right? The other guy's name is Gordon Goner, and which is an anagram for Drogano Dronago Negro, which is Aussie for dumb or stupid, and then Negro is obviously black in Spanish.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are they trying to say there, right? And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, bro. You're totally right. I mean, and if that is genuinely the anagram that they were trying to use, then yeah, it would be another one of those things where it's like, we're so funny because we're making fun of everybody. It's sort of like, yeah, but nobody knows you're making fun of them. So maybe go do that when you guys are doing like whatever, smoking cigars and have like when it's just you guys around the
yes,
table. Feel free to make all those jokes. When you're including all of us and you're making us pay for it, like STFU.
yeah, right. And we're still just the tip of the iceberg here. We're only going over the so far, right? The other founder is SAS, which are the two main branches of the Third Reich, the SA and the SS. You know, coincidence once again, right?
Yeah. So I love so quick shout out to Hodge2 Podge4 in the comments saying how many sixes are in the Disney logo. That's a great question. Here's another question: how many phalluses are in the Disney cover art? Look up the Little Mermaid. I dare you.
Yep. That's another one. That's another one. So here we start getting into some more details of the Bored Ape Yacht Club itself, right? So this Prashat hat, right, was used before with the before Hitler. Obviously, Hitler was not wearing these hats, or the Third Reich was, but they themselves that used this helmet also had a very similar flag, which was the inspiration that was used to create the Nazi flag and the Third Reich flag. And they also had a phrase that was inscribed into the helmet. It's called Sumi Kari or something like that, which was also put on one of the camp's doors. Was put on there. And why would you initially put this hat in there when you know the history, right? And these people are not dumb. These founders are like, oh, there's no way that we need it. All right, it's actually written right here, Sumi Quick Quick, or however you say that. So the fact that they use these people actually, one of the founders, I forget which one it is, I think it's Gargamel, he literally wrote a thesis on the book 266, which is a book about Nazis. And it's a book mixed between fiction and reality of Nazism. So he wrote a whole thesis on it, right? This is not like an essay in fifth grade that he wrote one time and forgot about or anything. He did deep research into this cult-like mentality of Nazis, and used this Japanese band was translated. It's talked about in the video. This is the kamikazes, right, from World War II, which were allied with the Germans. We
Right.
have the
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, just to say like, and then goes on to say that the trait for the Bored Ape Yacht Club when they're wearing the kamikaze band, the trait that they identify it as, I think they call it the sushi chef,
Yes.
which is a little bit insulting because chef would not be wearing the kamikaze band. It's like the furthest thing from it. There are other headbands that are traditionally worn in Japanese culture, and sushi chef and kamikaze, worlds apart. They wouldn't be worn together. So
Unless you're
again,
thinking
they're
of
trying to be
kamikaze
cheeky.
shot.
They're trying to be all, like egghead humor. They think we're all going to get it, but then, this.
Yeah, then we have this, right? We have this hat over here, which is from the Congo. And if you look deeper into the video and you watch, these people that were conquering the Congo back in the day would literally chop off the Congolese hands, and you eventually even became a currency within the country to chop off people, Congolese hands. Hands are actually also used in the art with the dogs, the Kennel Club or whatever it is. The dogs are literally holding the hand in their mouth, which is a Nazi whistle that people use. We have this over here with the Vietnam, and we have this one over here with the Persian helmet or whatever it is that is called. So we keep going down, and there's a lot more stuff going on in here. We have bunch of other stuff, and it kind of ends here, right? I'm not going to be reading all these details and whatever, but there's a lot of details in the art itself that point. There's more details in this, right? There's the fact that also the collection was launched on Hitler's death date, April 30th, was when they decided to launch the collection. They have an ape that you mentioned with the jail prison suit, and it has the 1987, which also represents. Right now, I'm blanking out on what it was, but it was a reference also to Adolf Hitler at some point. So there's all these little attributes. There's well-known collection knowledge and connection between the founders being creative writers and them themselves reading about Nazi history. Literally, the other creator, I think it's Tomato Ketchup, he literally was quoted saying that there's no book that he doesn't like, and the only book that he hasn't read is the Mein Kampf. So
Well, no, I think his exact quote was like, "There's only I've never read a book. There's only one book in the world that I don't like, and it's Mein Kampf, but I've never read it."
oh,
Like,
there you go.
it's actually
That's more
like, and as
accurate.
far as intellectual humor goes, I mean, these guys are pretty much on point. I've read some of their public stuff, and like intellectual humor, it's funny if you're like ready for it, right? If you're ready to for whatever the friggin' punchline is.
Yeah.
But if at that moment you're not, it's like, okay, you guys, like, you alienated everybody else in the room. Like, why did you have to bring up Mein Kampf here? Like, at
Yeah, dude.
whatever.
I mean,
This is a Wendy's, sir.
exactly. I don't think or so. Like I've been in the Twitter Spaces with Ryder Rip, a bunch of people from Bored Ape, right, defending Bored Ape and attacking Ryder Rip, and making the allegations that that he's accusing these people of being racist and Nazis or whatever. I'm not gonna go that far and make that allegation. I don't think they are. I think that they're trolls. I think they've trolled the majority of people to believe into something that people don't look into, right? That's how people join cults without knowing that they're in a cult, because everybody that knows they're in a cult wouldn't join a cult. But so that happens all the time. People didn't pay attention. They fell onto the trend and they've blown it up. Now it's everywhere, even celebrities, and everybody's talking about it. And it's become part of internet culture, and it will continue to be part of internet culture for a very long time. And yet it has all the ties, right? So I think they were brilliant enough to say, hey, let's sprinkle this stuff in here. And their whole thing about Bored Ape is a puzzle, right? Nobody understands why there's a yacht club in a swamp, why they're apes, why everything is the way it is. They literally put out a massive collection of what are they called, of like these ciphers on their website for people to figure out, and they were going to get rewarded. So they are smart enough to put all these ciphers together to get people to fall in line without people actually ever discovering the ultimate cipher, right? The ultimate cipher is the inside joke that all of this is in there and nobody even sees it, even though it's plain sight, which points to a lot of things we've seen in history, right? People are talking about in the chat Freemasons, and they've talked about other organizations, right? The Illuminati and all this like programming that they put out in plain sight for people, and no one ever sees it. But then when you watch a documentary about it, you're like, oh, that guy's crazy, bro. Like, you're gonna listen to all that, but it's like, how many things are gonna all be a coincidence before we draw the line somewhere and say there's some purpose in why all this is there?
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give a shout out to somebody who's commenting on your channel here on YouTube, Crypto Mystic, bringing up the fact that that there are good people who come from other traditions. Definitely Freemasons do get a bad rap. I've got a cousin who's very involved in a local lodge here, and but who also is really big into some of the symbolism and some of the imagery of the old Republic of Rome, and which unfortunately, right, like, so were the Nazis. They were super into the imagery of the old Republic of Rome, including the straight arm salute that the Nazis would do to each other. That is like an abstraction of some art that came out in the late 1700s. There's no evidence that the Romans actually saluted each other that way, but that didn't stop the nationalist, the National Socialist Party, right, the Workers' Party in Germany at that time, and then turning like that into the main salute for the German army and all of society at the time, and then making it a requirement that everybody had to salute each other that way. So like, yeah, it is unfortunate. There are symbols throughout history that start well. Like, some people really don't like to see the cross, the Christian cross, because they're like, well, yeah, well, you know what? Christianity, in the name of Christianity, the Crusades happened, or in the name of Christianity, all these bad things happened, right? The Inquisition, all this other stuff. Like, people get really upset about certain symbols, even though historically they were probably just fine, right? They were benign, right? And probably even net positive, right, for their time. So like I think it is important, yeah, to realize that these symbols, they only become problematic with the intent, and then when people don't pay attention that they are causing harm, or they go like, they go well beyond causing harm into like, okay, well, we're not totally sure what the effect will be, but we think, it's just really, really funny, and we're kind of getting our jollies off of it. Like that kind of selfishness, it almost always ends up poorly. But to quick jump back into people saying like, oh, well, what damage has it done? I love that the question how much was brought up a few times. Let me tell you exactly how much these guys earned. If they were getting a 10% royalty on the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and I don't know
I
that
think
actually
I
is
think
the
the
royalty.
royalties. I think the royalties are 2.5. I think
2.5. Oh, okay, got it. So I've got to slash this into a quarter. So somebody do the math here. But if it were 10%, we'll do a quarter of this. I guess we can do like ready math here. But if it were 10% royalty, they would be at approximately $64 million just in secondary market, not in primary sales, just secondary market sales. So if we're looking at a quarter of that, we're
it's
still
like
looking at over 15
16.
million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 16
Yeah.
million or something like that.
Yeah, right. So 16 million bucks that these guys have made in royalties while trolling everybody, like you're saying.
Yep.
So those
On
meme
royalties
founders, each one
alone,
of them.
right? That's on royalties alone. That's not on the minting price of the Bored Apes. That's not on all the merch that they've sold. That's not on top of
Oh
the
yeah.
ape coin that they created and they own, right? That's not on top of
Yeah.
the other side and land that they're created. On top of the entire franchise and company that they've built, all on a massive troll with massive connections to neo-Nazi symbolism.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one's seen it. No one pays attention to it. I mean, it's just it just proves, and I think it goes back to the point that I was trying to make is like if they are just trolling, their point, at least it would be in my perspective, would be to point out how naive people are, how people don't do their own research, how people just follow along onto anything because it becomes mainstream, right? It needs to get in front of the right people, in front of some authority figure, some celebrities, some whatever, and then boom, it's now welcomed with open arms, no matter what it is, because people literally, when we talk about this in crypto all the time, do your own research. No one has done any research to why the Bored Ape Yacht Club is the way it is, and somebody has, and now they attack them for it.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Here's a funny thing also. Like I'm sure people are aware this has made headlines over the last several weeks, but Seth Green, the Hollywood star turned
Yeah,
producer, Robot Chicken, that's Seth Green, right? Like he bought a Bored Ape, right? So he bought a Bored Ape and it was stolen from him, right? He wound up losing it somehow. I don't know if it was in the Discord hack or some other way it was socially engineered away from him, but he paid the ransom, right? Like he paid the person who stole this Bored Ape to get it back because he got the rights to this movie, right, or this TV show that he wants to build up around the Bored Ape character that he owns. I think to prove the concept. Like you look at some of these people though, like I think at some point in the future, like we'll more of us I think will be laughing about this in the future than are upset right now. Probably. Here's why. I think that characters like Seth Green, who come into this ecosystem and have bought a Bored Ape and are going to go build a TV show around it, you look at the humor of a guy like Seth Green. What has he worked on in the past? Like Robot Chicken, bro. He made a career, right? He's made a career out of breaking down stereotypes, poking fun at taboos, and whatever. Like basically like multi-million-dollar fart and dick jokes, right? Like that's this guy's career. Like.
Yeah.
Full stop. So for him to come into this ecosystem and have a Bored Ape and to build something with it, I think in a few years' time, he might even take all this stuff and be like, well, and have his character explain like on camera or something like, well, my parents were pretty controversial. I came into the world, and then tell the story and everyone be like, oh yeah, that was dumb. And let us all in on the joke. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Like
Hopefully, right?
But right
Hopefully.
now, yeah. Yeah, like right now, it's just like, guys, come on.
It's some people are obviously very upset about it, and they have all the right to be. And on this show here today, we've literally just scratched the surface. Go watch the video by Philion. It's an hour-long video, goes deep into details, right, about what all the connections between the founders to their history, to their ideology, to how the art was created. I mean, they even go as far as to talk to the artist, at least one artist that was part of the collection, and she basically says that she didn't recognize the end product at all from what she was working on. So there's a lot of disconnects, and things went different in different directions. There's a lot of connections to be made here, a lot of little red strings all pointed to different things, which make a very strong argument for the symbolism and that it is done on purpose. I do believe it's done on purpose. Do I believe that they're Nazis? No, I'm not convinced that they're Nazis. Do I believe they're massive trolls? Most likely. But it is done on purpose, and the majority, and it literally flew right past us, right? The majority of us never even saw it, never even realized it, and the majority of people, and it's not all the apes, right? All the apes don't have Nazi attributes. Only some of them do. But nonetheless, it is something that people need to talk about. People need to be aware of these, the founders themselves, if they ever do have the courage to come out and talk about it and let people in on the joke, like, yes, we're trolling you. Yes, we added all these things in. I think it'd be more slightly accepted than just they keep the joke going and they keep denying and denying and denying, which I don't see them not doing. I definitely see them denying it to the end, and just keep it going, because all this controversy at the end of the day feeds their hype, and everyone at the end of the day with the worth of a Bored Ape still wants one, and the people that are holding them are not going to burn them, right? Because that's the whole purpose, is to burn the apes. I highly doubt that. People were buying more apes because Ryder Rip literally reminted the collection, and people were buying it and pushed the price all the way up to like an ETH.
Oh my gosh.
So they obviously weren't upset that the apes were racist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I feel kind of bad because I think it hit one of my free minting account trackers or whatever, and I saw the opportunity to buy some when they were still available to mint, and I kind of wish that I had, dude, because they were free to mint. It was like getting free money, bro. Yes,
I thought they were. I thought they were 0.15 ETH to mint.
Were they? Maybe I'm looking at a copycat. So here's where we kind of get in the weeds also with the BAYC collection. There have been some copycats that have come out as well since that point. Since Ryder Rips, right, and that's where the RR comes from. Ryder Rips did this copycat collection, or this fully duplicated collection of the Bored Apes. Like there have been some copycats that have made the RR Mutant Ape Yacht Club, which he didn't actually account for. He didn't actually do. And then RR, I think there've been like punks, and there's been lazy lions. Like basically everything has been now duplicated with RR at the beginning, because there's that copycat, like on OpenSea, there's always that kind of momentum, that kind of energy. Yeah. Once somebody mints a new collection that has growing interest, the scammers come in to basically, to fool people into buying or minting something that has no value at all. But there've been a few that were free to mint of the copycat collections that like grew right up to like what almost 0.15 ETH. So it would have been like minting free money, basically.
Yeah, I no doubt, right? And child of the coin, I know who that is. Says the joke's not funny, and I agree, the joke isn't funny. But people. I just want to bring awareness to people. I want people to think for themselves. I want people to watch the video, because I've been in these Twitter spaces and people get super heated in these Twitter spaces attacking Ryder Rip and all that stuff. And most of them were saying, they were literally admitting, I haven't even watched the video and I'm not going to. And I know it's BS. How do you know it's BS if you haven't watched the video? If you haven't literally done any other research? You're proving his point that nobody does research and just goes along with something and then attacks and then defends it and attacks the messenger, right? Even if the messenger is not the greatest, doesn't have the greatest reputation, the message is still the message, regardless of who the messenger is. So yes, the joke's not funny, but I do think they're trolling people. And they've done it in a very smart way, right? Their whole excuse of why they're not racist is because we are not whites. We're Hispanic, we're Jewish, we're this and we're that. They're all different ethnicities, and they're like, so therefore, by default, I cannot be racist.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a whole nother topic, right? Which is a whole nother topic.
Yeah, Miguel, on that note, man, like So on that note, like the founders being like, okay, well, one of the founders is Jewish, and the advisor is Israel, is like literally Israeli. So whether he's ethnically Jewish or not, he's living in Israel, right, in the nation of Israel. So like, or the country of Israel. So I look at that sort of thing, and man, I had that dilemma growing up. Like my dad, I'm first generation American actually. My dad was born and raised in Cuba. You'd never guess, right? Like people never ever guess. They're like, oh, you're güero, right? Like you're gringo, right? And it's like, well, no. I'm not. I'm an undercover Latin brother because people don't ever guess that beyond that. My dad's dad was mulatto, right? Mulatico. So he was like, so I'm like actually descended from Afro-Cuban roots. But like, that doesn't give me a pass to go out and act racist in public, bro. I can't get away with that. Like, people don't have the context.
By social laws nowadays, if you have your family tree up here, like, hey, by default, I'm good to go. I got the pass. I'm smooth sailing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but it's just like people don't get it in the same way that like depending on like what Latin American country people are from, especially in Brazil, right? Like there's such a diversity of ethnicity in Brazil, and you can have people who are very, very dark in Brazil, as well as a lot of costeños from Colombia. Like you get a lot of like basically the same Caribbean blood, right? Same, a lot of the trade routes, right? So a lot of people who like intermingle and intermarry from these areas, right? So you get a lot of diversity, like racially diverse areas of Central and South America, and yeah, it doesn't give people a pass. In Central and South America, people are really cool with it. They're just like, hey, like whatever. If somebody's fat, you just kind of, hey, fatty, come here. Like that's just how you talk, right? Like, or if somebody's like really, really skinny, that's like the main characteristic visually of that person. There's a little bit less, like there's like thicker skin, right? Yes, socially in these areas.
Definitely. I mean, in Cuba, in Cuban culture, right? Like you said, if you have a defining feature, that's gonna be your nickname, whether you like it or not. Everyone's gonna call you that by whatever it is. Whether it's your hair, it's your skin. If you're too tall, you're too skinny. Your fingers are too long. Your fingers are too short. Whatever it is, that's gonna be your nickname, whether you like it or not. So to wrap it up here, what are your final words? Your final thoughts about everything we've talked about, everything you've seen in the video about Bored Ape, the people's reaction, the people that overall just encompassing everything. What's your message to the people and your thoughts about what's been discovered here?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure being on the channel. Just really, really great hanging here with the Debate Crypto team, and again being supportive of the Danger Close Alpha launch as it's imminent. I know you guys, this is near and dear. I know you guys have put in a lot of work, and anything that affects the NFT ecosystem, I know affects you guys, right? All the hard work that you've put in. So, so hopefully all of this stuff doesn't affect you guys too negatively. So best wishes there. But yeah, for my part, like I have taken a stance on the whole ordeal, and that is right now, the founders did it wrong. They just did it wrong. And I'm not going to be supportive of the Bored Ape Yacht Club or of Yuga Labs or of ApeCoin or any part of their ecosystem. I'm not going to be supportive of it for right now. That said, I've got friends with really heavy bags. I've got friends that have multiple, right, Bored Apes and Mutant Apes, and they got all the ApeCoin airdrops and stuff. I'm not trying to go out and go like punk rock, throw elbows at their bags and stuff. I do want my friends to be protected financially, but I'm not going to be supportive of this kind of nonsense, right? Like you want to go make like a, a Seth Rogen movie where like basically the only people laughing are you and your friends. Feel free, I guess, but I don't have to go see it. I don't have to go spend money on it. And that's how I feel about the Yuga Labs ecosystem. Like you guys want to go and have your inside joke, whatever, fine. I'm free to go vote with my dollars. I'm free to vote with my Satoshis, with my Gwei, somewhere else. So they lost me for sure. If there was ever any risk of, or any chance of them winning me over to the ecosystem, that's over until they figure out a better way to fix these optics. And like you said, maybe come out openly and say like, hey, we did it this way. Yeah, we guess it's in poor taste, but it was all a joke. Like if they could just say that, it would probably do a lot of damage control for them. Even still, for me, like until that point, I'm just going to be like, okay, there's so many, like, this is crypto, bro. There's like literally a million ways. I don't need you. So I'm moving on.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. Right, they're a blue chip right now, but doesn't mean that they're gonna be a blue chip forever. Doesn't mean that they're gonna be around forever. Things can go sideways very quickly here. We've seen bear markets take out stronger competitors in the Bored Ape Yacht Club before, so we would not be surprised if something like that were to occur again. If this does escalate out of control, they're definitely gonna have issues. They're definitely gonna have issues. So yes, I also agree with you. Um, Bored Ape Yacht Club is going into my XRP portfolio, and everybody knows how I feel about XRP. So they're there, right next to each other, hodling next to each other there. So you guys know
So,
how I feel about that.
Crusader, you're saying Bored Apes are the standard?
Yeah,
Standard.
they're the XRP standard, right? They've met the XRP standard. The evil financial elites meet the alt-right Nazis. Boom, together forever, right? So that's how I feel about them. I'm definitely not gonna be buying a Bored Ape. Not that I have the ETH to buy it, but if I did, like you said, I would not be buying one or getting my hands on it, just for the simple fact that sometimes you need to draw a line somewhere, and it's the same way I drew a line with XRP. Right? It's the fact that ingenious move to trinkle all these things in and create this big puzzle and this big mystery, which obviously has been proven to be a big formula for success. Yes. Was it necessary? No. Right? It's morals over value, morals over money, and that's where people sometimes don't draw the line, and they go all out just for money. And I think that was part of the formula here. They knew that this would sell. They knew that this would get intrigue. They knew that this would be this big cultural movement, and they could sway people into it. Um, and that's not the way I like to do business. That's not the way I like to push cultural movements or anything like that. I like things to be clear, straightforward, no hidden agendas, no secret, crazy mysteries behind, and same thing with XRP and their whole elite traditional banking system thing. So I value morals more than I value money, and when people do stuff like this, I just can't be part of it. But like you said, I have friends, right? I know people like Nick. Nick holds XRP. Does that mean that I'm not going to be his business partner? Does that mean it's not going to be his friend? Absolutely not, right? So same thing with the Bored Ape. They hold a Bored Ape. Hey, that's your moral stance. That's your moral ground. That's going to be between you and God at some point, not me, right? I'm good. I'm clean of that nonsense. So I recommend everybody to go watch the video that goes in depth. It's by Philion. It's got over 500,000 views on YouTube. Go check it out if you're more interested in all the details, right? Because we just scratched the surface here. Definitely go check it out. Come with to your own opinion. Do your own research for once. Watch the video. Do your own research. Do your own thought process. Figure it out for yourselves, and you can figure out your stance on your own. So like always, right? If you haven't joined the Danger Close Alpha or smashed up the likes, smash the likes. Join Danger Close Alpha. This is a straightforward movement about preparedness, getting ready for any scenario, from natural disaster to government tyranny, all the way up to fighting alt-right Nazis. Right? Whatever it is that you need to prepare for, that's what this is for. There's no hidden agendas here. There's no secrets. There's no gotcha jokes. Straightforward what it is. Join the movement, be part of it. So like always, Seth, it was a pleasure having you back on, dude. Always great talking to you. So like always, question everything, trust nothing, and until next time, hodl like a top. See you guys.